Hey, everybody.
Look at this.
For those of you who are watching live, they're probably like, wait a minute, is my computer working? Anyway, welcome to episode number 10 of Social Selling for Newbies. I'm Tom Burton, and I'm here with Brandon Lee. And I'm sure Carson will be joining us soon. He always likes to make the grand entrance, so he'll be here momentarily. And yes, we are in the same place at the same time. I don't know how we did it. It just sort of worked out.
Out that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
It worked out that way. So,
welcome everybody.
Yeah, welcome. Last week we talked about, sorry, you're gonna say.
Well, I was just say, I always want to set it up. All those listening on the podcast, just remember we go live. We record this live on LinkedIn and we stream it on Facebook and Twitter as well. But welcome everybody from the podcast and everybody that's on live. On LinkedIn with us. Welcome, and let us know in the comments, who you are, where you're at, and any questions you have or any comments you have about the type of content that we should be posting. We just love for you to be involved in the conversation. Like I said, those of you listening to the podcast, we appreciate you, but if you want to join, Wednesdays, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, LinkedIn Live, and we'd love to have your comments there as well. Now,
and if you're on the live and you're not listening to, or you don't have the podcast subscribed to, do that too.
That too,
right? Because you want all angles.
That's right. That's right.
So last week we talked about, I thought was a really cool topic about the insecurity aspect of social and how to kind of get comfortable and confident with posting and working on social.
Right.
And then and actually speaking of questions, then the question came up. Well, okay, I get things I can do to be comfortable, but what should I say? What should I post? When should I post? Why? All of those types of things.
Yeah.
And that's what we really wanted to dig into today is, what the heck should I be posting and when, and kind of create a framework for that you can build on from last week's episode. So that's where we're going to go today.
Yeah. And I think, I do think that this 1-2 punch of last week about building your social cred and getting confidence. And then I think the hardest part about social is posting. I mean, so often what I hear from people is, hey, look at that guy. Oops, we can't do that.
Oh, wow. See, we're in the same place. This is really
I'm taking up more than my fair share. Yeah, this is weird.
Carson, you didn't get the memo? We're supposed to meet here in the...
I missed it.
Okay. All right.
Well, you missed that flight. So, hey, we're talking. Welcome, Carson, for everybody on the podcast. Carson just joined us. And Carson, you're going to pick up right where we left off. But for everybody listening, the last week in talking about, insecurities and how to build our credibility, it was such a natural next step for us to talk about, well, what the heck do I post? Because so often the biggest question I get is, I want to do this, but I don't know what to post. Like, what do I post and how do I do it consistently? So that's our topic for today. Carson, take it away. The rest is you. Finish it up.
Okay. All right. So I got, 20, 30 minutes. Always good to see you guys. This is a great one because when I talk to people about social selling, it's a few things, right? There's that pushback on that lack of comfort in really knowing where and how to get started. And there's also this misnomer about how much time it takes to socially sell, right? Like, a lot of people, if they follow me on LinkedIn today, they might think I live out there, but in all honesty, I'm on there maybe a few minutes a day, other than, responding to messages when I can. But, it's not a daunting task if you schedule intentional time with a purpose and with an outcome that you're trying to drive toward. And then the other element would be really just pinpointing, like it's progress over perfect. We talk about this all the time, like having some type of content that you're putting out there, evolving based on the response or lack thereof. These are all things that, in my opinion, the greats of social selling are doing. And I don't purport to be one. I'm just somebody who believes in the process, believes in what social selling can unlock. And I'm going to give you a couple little anecdotes around that. First off, figure out where your audience is and what they are talking about, what is top of mind for them. I often find a lot of people when they post, they post something that's pertinent to what their company has done. And most of their likes and most of their comments are people that work at the exact same company. And there's not necessarily a ton of value in that. What you want to do is to create content that is provocative, stokes thoughts from your audience or shows up with unique perspective that starts conversation. And you want to find all the mediums that you're comfortable with. We talked about that on this show before. You can blog, you can leverage video, you can make your posts, you can do short posts, you can do long posts, you can post pictures, you can put your content in a picture. There's a lot of different things that the algorithm of social media, but also your audience will engage in. And the last thing that I want to kind of say on this preamble, and that I'd love to get your thoughts, is I take a lot of inspiration from some of the greats of social selling that I've been able to meet over the years. And I made a post today and I tagged you guys in it. And it was just kind of about what social selling has done for me personally. And I can talk about that in a minute. But that was inspired by a gentleman that I met on LinkedIn named Darren McKee. And so Darren, if you know Darren, he's posted 1,002 days in a row on LinkedIn. And on his 1,000th day, he actually made a post with a picture attached. And he talked about 1,000 days ago, my life looked totally different. And I got permission from Darren to name drop him today. But he talked about creating content changed everything for him. He talked about where he was 1,000 days ago versus today. He was, in essence, a SDR 1,000 days ago. He had 3,000 followers on social, so probably mostly connections. Zero desire to run his own business, bad work-life balance, never thought about being published in a book. Thought viral or going viral was only for big influencers. He also spent a lot of his time cold calling, emailing, didn't post his own content, and his community was local at best. And today he's a VP of sales. He's got 65,000 followers on LinkedIn. He's created his own startup. He has full control of his schedule, became a contributing author. He has content that it's hit 50 million people worldwide over the time that he's been posting. And, now he spends a lot of his time social selling and making connections that way. He's recognized by LinkedIn to be a sales insider, which is crazy, and built a community that's global. And the post really inspired me because it spoke to me, because I think it's important where it may seem daunting to become a social seller and find success through social on day 1, day 5, day 10, or wherever you are in your journey. But if you look back on the body of work or the masterpiece that you're able to create over time, that's what it's all about. I would compare it to a diet. I would compare it to a workout regimen. You're not going to be a superstar on day 1, but if you do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, in Darren's case, it can become something really meaningful and impactful.
That's a really awesome story, and I love it. And I think one of the feedbacks I heard from last week's show with Red was it was the most practical show that they had experienced before. And in the name of that, I was thinking about this our show today, and from a practical standpoint, I'd love for us to share what are 1 or 2 strategies or tips or ideas to help people get started with creating their own content, because I know it's so daunting. And I'll give you guys some time to think about it, and I'll kick it off with 2 of them. Number 1 is customer questions. I think one of the easiest and fastest way that somebody can create content is to just write down questions that your customers ask you in a conversation. It could be a call, it could be a Zoom, or whatever. Write down those questions. And then you turn that into a piece of content by saying, hey, I was on the phone with, and you put their title, you say their industry, don't necessarily use them by name unless you have permission, and say, based on their title and based on their industry, they asked this question. I thought this was a good question because, fill it in, and then say, here's 2 things, 3 things, 1 thing, 5 things, it doesn't matter, that I think are really important about this question or about this topic, and just put down what you think. I think it's a really easy way. It can be overwhelming because people go, oh, well, what if what I think is wrong? bull, what you think is right. You have experience in the industry. I don't care if you're 30 days in it or 30 years into it. If you just share from your own perspective and your own experience and speak that way, it's going to add value to everybody and anybody that reads it. That's number one. Number two is the more easy one, I think. It's, talk about and post the things that you observe. I think a really simple thing to say is, in your work life or in your work experience, what are some things that you observe or you recognize? Simple things like, I recognize today that I was really stressed out over a deadline. You just kind of share about it. It's something that everybody can relate with, and people will relate with it, and they'll engage with it. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one, or me too, or thanks for sharing that. Anything along those lines of just sharing your everyday real world work experiences. And I found that, what do you observe is kind of a good general way of explaining it or describing it, because you may observe how other people behave. You may observe how you feel. You may observe the way you behave. You may observe how you, act or respond towards something. Just kind of that as a general descriptor for something practical. What do you guys think about those?
Oh, I think those are really very, very simple, straightforward. It doesn't require a lot of brain power, right? I mean, because you're asking and talking to people all day long.
Right.
So write down those things. Write down, hey,
I'm
here's
feeling,
a question.
I'm feeling confled. I feel like I'm being rude, not looking at Tom, but I want to look at the audience. I'm a little stuck here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we need to get more practice on this.
I know, not being in the same room is weird.
But I even want to take a step back to Carson, what you were just saying. Was it Darren you said that you?
Yeah, Darren McKee is the gentleman's name, and I probably needless to say, we connected on LinkedIn because of some of the great work he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting in what that story was is, he was posting to a degree with a purpose, right? He had a purpose of really building a lot of relationships over those 1,000 days.
Maybe not. I mean, he may not have started that way.
But he must have had a goal, right? What he wanted to post for 1,000 days. And it may not even have been a business goal. It may just been, hey, what can happen, right? What relationships can I create?
Yeah.
And I was even thinking about this. I was thinking about this for myself going into next year. I wasn't doing 1,000 days, but maybe I need to up my game. But like
it's hard to do that in a year.
Yeah, I know. Like a 30-day challenge, right? Like a personal 30-day challenge, and say, okay, what can I do if I post and comment for 30 days, right? Every day from that. Where would I start and where would I end up? Because the relationships would inherently start to create that community, like you were saying, Carson, on the other thing. But then if you're going back to what you're talking about is, okay, well, what am I going to say, right? I think those things about asking questions is great. I think just what you're feeling or what other people are feeling. For me, I also like to kind of do curated content or something I read in the news, or startup, funding or something like that. And then if I have an opinion on it, it's almost like a little mini editorial, and then get what others. So that's a third one that I can think of. Yeah. That's pretty easy. We all have opinions, right? We all have questions that we're getting asked, and we all have kind of things that we feel. Those are all simple things that we can come up with.
I think there's a few really strong areas that you can focus as you're thinking about what is the type of content that you could and should post. I mean, I start off by saying, like, look, people buy from people. So the more you can show that human element of yourself, like, I some of the greats, and, I'm thinking of people like Darren, thinking of this gentleman, Justin Clark, that I've met online. They've both been on my podcast before. Great, genuine, authentic people that I've never met in person, but they post, glimpses of their family life, or even just stories about stuff that their kids say. And we all go through this stuff, but it's amazing because it gives a glimpse into who these folks are before you've even met them or talked to them. And so what's interesting is take that one step further. I've had customer executives that I've interviewed on my own show, and it was as a result of them seeing my video content, me making an invitation to my audience for opportunities to be on my show or to have a conversation. See, that was the thing. I never started to have a show for any reason other than to meet and learn. And it's amazing how it's been able to get me into having meaningful conversations with my team's customer executives. And now we're working on projects together. But I didn't reach out to them the old fashioned way. I didn't cold call them. I didn't message them saying, hey, I'd like to work together, or hey, we're doing great things in this and that. It was a way of creating content that met them where they were. And then the last thing I would say on that token is I love what you said, Tom, about the curated content element, because, and really too, Brandon, yours as well, like thinking about some of the things that you hear and that your customers are grappling with on a regular basis. The key element is show up with perspective. If you're able to say, like, I meet with executives in this industry every day. This is the challenge that they're faced with. This is what we're doing in order to, or here's some thoughts that I have about how you can, tackle this more effectively. What are your thoughts? And take it another step further. Let's say you've got some great customer wins that you can tout. Don't make it about your company. Make it about that company and how they won. Some of my best posts are where I celebrate successes that we've had with another organization, but like we're a footnote. It's, hey, look at what this company's doing. And I've seen those posts have resounding results.
Yeah. I have a little thing I created for my clients, and I call it post, tag, and praise, but never about you. And it's something that people can remember, right? Post, tag, and praise, never about me. Post, tag, and praise, never about me. Really, really simple way of getting into it. And Carson, I love what you're saying there about people buy from people and being human. And I would propose to everybody, think about for yourself, what's the easier content for you to create first? Is it business oriented content or is it personal oriented content? Because I think everybody kind of has a bent right there. And you can see people, they talk about their business all the time, never about themselves. Well, they're more comfortable there. Just get better at creating that type of content. If you're currently comfortable creating content that's here's my features, my functions, my brochure stuff, well, keep talking about business oriented stuff, but tweak it to be more other oriented. If you're more comfortable sharing content about your personal life, then keep, go down that direction. I think the key for me in talking with people is be consistent. And I love, Tom, what you shared about having a 30-day challenge or creating something like that for consistency, because when you have a goal, you're more likely to meet it. If it's, I'm going to try and work out more often, it's never going to happen. I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, much more likely to happen.
Yeah, maybe we should do that as a 30-day challenge for the first part of the year.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first volunteer.
Yeah.
And then we can see that. Let's address Andre's question, because I think that's one that we all want to know, is like, okay, we do all this work and then we feel like nobody's listening, right? It's like and I'll start with this, and then I know you can add, you guys certainly can add a lot more. But one of the things that, and again, what I'm going to say here is not like necessarily proven.
So for people on the podcast, Andre's question was, how can you change the algorithms to get more views? And thank you for that, Andre. And
Great
Butch,
question.
thank you for joining too.
Thanks for remembering that there's people that are actually listening. Yes. So, this is something I think we've both seen, and Carson, I don't know if you've seen this as well, but when we're commenting more and then we post, we tend to get greater reach.
Mm-hmm.
When the commenting falls off, and I'll be the first to beat myself up in the last couple because of travel and other things, my commenting has really fallen off in the last 30 days. And now my posts are way less successful. So I think as part of the 30-day challenge, for me anyway, it's a combination of commenting and posting. Maybe his read, I know 25 comments is a lot, but maybe it's 10 comments a day or 5 comments a day.
Go big or go home.
Right. Or go red or go home. Right.
Yep.
And then go from there. And then, but I think what I've always seen is you do that, like it takes a week or two, but after that machine gets going, you'll inherently start to see the reach on that.
Yeah.
One more thing, and then I'll let you guys jump in on this, is I am also seeing, interestingly enough, a bit more, like LinkedIn penalizes videos for whatever reason. It's too bad, because you would think that videos would get more precedence, but I keep seeing that videos are getting penalized, and that we get more results out of like an image or a carousel set of images or no images at all. Now that, again, this is just my observation, or maybe different on that, but I'm really hoping that LinkedIn starts to do more with video, because I think you can have even a more impact with video on your piece. But currently I'm not seeing that, but
Interesting. And I would say that, what I hear and what I experience is live video. They favor it a lot. And so when you go live, it starts ending up in a lot more of your connections news feeds, for sure. Carson, what are your thoughts on the algorithms?
From a casual outside observer, sometimes I think the algorithm certainly doesn't seem to be an exact science, right? And it obviously shifts over time.
Yeah.
What there's a good reaction and response to can differ. And where I've seen a lot of impact is having a picture accompanied by lines of text. A lot of times you want to be very conscientious of those like first 3 to 4 lines of text, because you want to draw people in so that they'll click and read more. You also want to effectively leverage hashtags. And I think it's important to look at what are some of the hashtags that are being leveraged a lot.
Really good.
Go out and do a search for hashtags. I notice in my line of work, leadership, management, career, sales, salespeople, selling skills, selling tips. These are big. And then also like look at your industry. If you support a specific industry, go out and look at some of those hashtags that get a lot of views. And you can do that on every social media platform. A lot of times, if like I'm out on Instagram and I start writing a hashtag, it'll show me all of the suggested hashtags, and then also how many people follow those hashtags. So those things are super important. You want to be cognizant of them, because if you're posting at that hashtag and you're posting to one that's going to be followed more often, obviously you're going to get more hits. Lots of interaction as well with video. But again, to Tom's point, there are some nuances to that based on the duration of video. A lot of times when I look at metrics, I'll notice that no matter how good I think my video is, at 30 seconds in, at a minute in, it may take a dive. Very few people will stay on for a full 5 to 10 minute video. Hence the emergence of TikTok, right? Because it's a medium for a lot of these quick, these shorts. Like it or not, I think sometimes we live in a short attention span society. And so we have to very much tailor our approach to the audience, whatever the audience is, whoever your audience is. So if you're trying to tailor an approach to a customer and you want it to be seen, you've got to go look at what they're talking about. And frankly, that's why I think the commenting piece is also very important. And Tom, to your point, if you're commenting and you're interacting with people, then the viability, the likelihood of you showing up in their feed goes up exponentially. So I agree wholeheartedly with the commenting. I think you need to go out and look at what your audience is talking about so that you can hashtag it appropriately.
Hashtagging is really important. Yeah.
I think you need to make sure that you're cognizant of using a lot of different mediums and tinkering with them. I will say also on LinkedIn, if you post third-party articles, these can get a decent number of hits. If you have a blog that you go out and create, let's say with WordPress, and you go out and you repost your blog with WordPress with a picture embedded on LinkedIn, it's going to get a lot of hits. So all of these things, there's no one silver bullet. But if you take all these things into consideration, you give yourself a better probability of being seen and being interacted with, which is ultimately what you're after.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to the commenting, because as you guys know, I'm a big comment. And part of it is my social prospecting model is all about commenting, being seen before you send connection requests, which I have found just to be a very great strategy. But the other thing it does when it comes to the algorithm, so as Andre asked, is the algorithm doesn't necessarily see who started what. They see connections, right? So if I put my top 100 prospects into a list, and I go through and I look at their post activity every week. So I do a little bit more than most. I'll go look at my top 100 twice a week. I'll go to their post activity, and if they've liked something, they've commented something on something, or they've posted, which we all know most people don't post, which, by the way, for everyone listening, Not enough people post, which means if you become a publisher, you start publishing content, you immediately become in the top 2% of LinkedIn. So publish. But you go and anything that they've liked, they've commented on, or they've published, comment on. Now, number one, the LinkedIn's going to tell them that you commented on it. So in a way, LinkedIn introduces you to them before you introduce yourself to them. And what that looks like practically is they send them a notification, either in-app a notification, or sometimes they even send them an email. And it would say, I'd get, hey, Brandon, Carson, here's his picture, here's his name, here's his headline, commented on a post that you liked. Click here to join the conversation. Like everybody's seen those. You if you're on LinkedIn, you've had to see them, because LinkedIn's motivated to get us all back in LinkedIn so they can sell ads. So they're constantly trying to get us in. So when we comment, number one, we're introducing ourselves to people that we don't know yet. But number two, we're influencing the algorithm, because the algorithm sees, this person and this person have commented on the same post. They must know each other. They must be connected. They must share similar experience of something. And then you do it every week or twice a week. What's going to happen is your posts start getting shown in their news feed as well. And that doesn't even connect yet to, if you do that, the rule of 4 for me, before you send the connection request, that's where the data of 150% increase in accepted connection requests take place. But you want to influence the algorithm, commenting.
Well, and I think what you just explained kind of goes through the actual logic of why that works, right? It's when you start to look at it and you see the connections and inherently that's going to increase the reach that you're going to go to. It's like, if I'm not out of the party and I'm not shaking hands and introducing myself, chances are, right, the communication isn't going to get through. But if I've met everybody as I can, then it's going to take have more reach on the whole thing.
And you know what's interesting is I kind of liken liking a post to sending somebody a connection request, and then sending a connection request without a personalized note, because anybody can like a post. And if you go look at any post that has a lot of hits, they're going to have far more likes than they'll have comments. So if you make a comment, you're going to stand out. But guess what you can also do in that comment is you can tag the person who made the post. That's going to make it stand out even more, because they will get a notification that you tagged them. And so, when I go out and I see my white whale of a customer that I want to create that conversation and that relationship with, and I'm doing the same thing Brandon's doing, and I'm following this person every day, and I'm seeing what they're posting, and every single day I at them with an @ sign and tag them and make a comment about their, an articulate comment, a multi-sentence comment about their perspective and what they've shared. Every bit of that builds awareness of, hey, I'm out there, I'm engaging, and they're going to know a little bit about me before we potentially break bread. The likelihood of them visiting your profile goes up. All of these things are investments, and they take mere seconds. Because I know one of the things we're going to talk about is the time allotment required to do some of this stuff. That's the biggest reason people don't do it, is because they feel like it's going to take too much time. But all these little things that we've talked about today are also ways that you can enhance the probability that you're posting and that your engagement yields a conversation, because that's ultimately what you want. If you do that @ sign, you tag them, you use hashtags, you use these pictures, you ask provocative questions, all of those things are going to give you a better result.
Yeah, and I'm going to push back on one thing, not what you said in particular, but what people say in general, which is, I don't have time.
Yeah.
And that's bull, right?
Is it bull or more than that?
Well, it's bullshit.
Okay.
So I was trying to be PG here, but it's not true, because these are the same people that spend 8 or 9 hours a day cold calling to knock off their KPIs. People don't post because they haven't figured out where the value is. The reason I wear social selling sucks when I have my shirt on is because too many people think I tried social selling and it didn't work, therefore social selling sucks. But when you unpeel that onion a little bit, you find out is what they did was they posted features, functions, about my company, buy my crap type of stuff. And it's not that social selling doesn't work. It's what you were communicating was highly ignored because nobody cared. So if anyone thought that I don't have time to do this, it's not that it takes a lot of time. It's figure out the strategy that makes sense. Get a system in place. I think that's one of the biggest benefits, not to promote my stuff, but that's one of the biggest benefits of our social prospecting program is it gives you a cadence, it gives you a rhythm, it creates a purpose of posting and commenting. And when you start to experience positive results, then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't care if I got to spend 30 minutes a day or an hour a day or even 2 hours a day. Look at the results I'm getting. And you can start carving out wasted time with cold calling or other activities that aren't producing the ROI.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about my own 30-day challenge, right?
I like what
And-
Andre said here, at least giving it some context.
Right.
So Andre said, so let's say 10 comments and 10 interactions in the morning, and then a post afterwards for 30 days.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a great simple model to start with. Maybe that's what we do for January.
No, I think
1st.
that's what we do for January 1st. And as I'm sitting here listening to all of this, and I think this would be really great to share in the community, the Social Selling HQ community, is because I've done this, but it's fallen out. So this is like true confessions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've done some of this, but it's fallen out recently. I want to get the plan back together, right? Get the plan back together, get all of this sort of stuff worked out prior to the 30 days, and then monitor it, right? And we can track. I'll track and be totally transparent in the community each day what's actually happening and what's going on.
Yeah.
And
I'm
we
going
can
to
track.
challenge you. Why wait till January 1st?
I was thinking the same thing.
Why not December 1st? And let's all jump in and do it because there's no time like the present, and we can be planting seeds for 2023 relationships right now. I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. So we're in for starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's a post every day. And I agree, Carson. Thank you for doing that. And then what we can do with other people is come on board.
Hey,
And-
Andre's in.
Yeah, Andre's in. Butch is in because he hasn't written it yet, but I know Butch will be in. And here's the other thing is I know 30-day challenges are really cool and hip and all that, but we can keep this as an ongoing challenge. And maybe between the three of us, we have a little competition, see who can go the longest.
And this is going to be really challenging. So I have got travel, as you know, right? I'm traveling now and I've got travel all next week. So I'm not going to use the excuse I don't have
You
time.
have LinkedIn on your phone,
Yeah,
right?
no, I'm going to use this as a personal challenge. Carson is forcing me to elevate my game.
That's
So
it.
And you know what resonates? You know what I find fascinating too is just the types of posts that really resonate with people. Like people that tell travel stories. We all have them. You have something crazy that happens to you on a trip, or right around Thanksgiving time, I saw a lot of people posting about things that they were grateful for and thankful for. And these things really resonate. Add that layer of human element. I would just kind of make a list of the different types of things that you'll post. And that's actually one of the things Darren McKee does that I was talking about earlier is he has different kind of subsets of types of content, and he'll rotate, he'll alternate. He may make a post about his family one day, and then the next it's something about his line of business or challenges that he sees in the market. So just kind of list out some of that, and you can pre-plan some of your content. Let's say it's kind of like your meal prep or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Planning out your week. Maybe you plan out what your posts are going to look like.
We'll create one of the forums in Social Selling HQ as part of the daily post challenge. We won't call it 30 days or 60 days. We'll just the daily post challenge. And we can put some different tips and tricks and things in there too, and get everybody that wants to register. It's free at Social Selling HQ. We'll create the challenge group. You can join it, and in there we'll talk about, because like even I loved what Red said last week, and this is what I do. I didn't call it the same thing he did, but he's got 5 topics. Remember he said it. He's got 5 topics he rotates through. One of them is his offer, and one of them is about the industry, and then he's got some others that are about like leadership. He's got some stuff about fantasy and things that he's into, and I think that that's a really good approach, and I can put some tips in there around that. As we wrap up, I got a little bit of a question for you guys. I got a comment and then a question. The comment is for everybody that I've seen data points over and over, and I experience it for myself, where pictures of yourself in different situations or pictures of people in general, especially when there's one or two people, not like an entire group, are much more highly engaged than any other type of picture. Okay. The second that I wanted to say, and the question for you guys is, and it doesn't have to be a perfect answer, but over the years, which of your posts was the most engaged post, and what was it about?
Mine was about mindset, talking about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a bit controversial. And I think that not in a controversial, just in the sense that people had different opinions on it. And that, I think, was the reason that drove
And
a lot
was
of it.
how did you write it? What was the tone of it with mindset?
If I remember correctly,
was
it
kind
was
of one of those observation type.
no, it
posts?
was more like, here, and this was related to marketing and sales mindset, but it was
Mhm.
like, here are the three areas, kind of mindset adjustments that I believe we need to be thinking in this new, buyer centric sales world. That was the
Okay.
basic premise of it. I think I'm going to resurrect it and post it tomorrow, so I have something to
There
post.
you go.
See that you can repurpose stuff too. I mean,
Oh,
this
yeah.
was from, probably at least 3 months ago, maybe 4
Yeah.
months ago.
Ooh. Carson, what about you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a couple that really jump out to me were actually, ironically, there were a couple of pictures that I'd posted of myself. One when I got a promotion and was just thanking all the people that had kind of led to that place. One was one of the first sales meetings that I went to, amidst the pandemic. So I went to a sales meeting in 2021 and my wife took a picture of me, posted it, talked about how grateful I was for that opportunity and just the ability to go back in there and meet people face to face. And then the last one that really jumps to mind was one where it was very, very vulnerable and raw, and it was just kind of about career trajectory. But it was this interview that I had done on a podcast, and I posted a picture of myself and the podcast host, and just kind of went through this litany of just kind of where I felt like my journey had gone. A lot of setbacks, a lot of things that I think all of us go through. But I just made the choice to continue persevering, and that was something that had resonated with folks.
Mm-hmm.
So very personal stuff is honestly what has resonated the most.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I just was sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
What
I heard
hashtag?
that.
What hashtag should we create for our post challenge, right? So that we can put all
that's a
that
good
together.
idea.
Speaking of hashtags, right?
Well, let's think about that, or we'll come
All right.
up with it, or anyone else can put an idea in the comments. But here's what I want to kind of wrap this around for the listeners is the reason I asked what our most engaging post was is, and I didn't know, I didn't ask Tom or Carson beforehand. Between really the three that you two shared, they're very different types of posts, right? My most engaged post that I can think of, and the most like recently, was it was a post that, and it was totally kind of flippant the way it happened. It was a Saturday morning. I was up on my laptop, and we have kind of a long driveway, and I heard a motorcycle coming up our driveway. And dad of 5, I'm kind of going through my Rolodex, like who drives a motorcycle? And I'm like starting at my oldest daughter, and I'm kind of working my way down. I'm like, I kind of got up and I walked over and I opened the door, and there's our 10-year-old neighbor, Evan, on his little motorbike, his little dirt bike with his helmet. And he pulls up his little windshield mask thing, and he goes, "Hi, Mr. Lee, can Zoe come out and play?" And Zoe's our 8-year-old daughter. And I started cracking up because I'm like, I went through my Rolodex of who it could be. I went through all my other kids, or 23-year-old, or 21-year-old, and he asked for our 8-year-old. And what I thought to myself was, man, I didn't think a boy on a motorcycle would come knocking on my door for my daughter for at least, 8 more years. Right. And I chuckled and I said, "Evan, hold on." I snapped a picture of him and I posted the picture and I told that story. And it was something like 80,000 plus views, over 350 comments. I don't know what the likes were. I don't even remember. But the thing that I noticed about that is everyone connected with it in different ways. Like a lot of people connected with it. Moms and dads connected with it. People told their story about, I remember when my boyfriend for the first time came and picked me up on a motorcycle. My dad had a fit. Like all these stories that people were able to connect with. So my point of that is for everybody, if you're, trying to think like, what do I post? What do I post? And number one is just start posting, join our daily program, which I think is brilliant for us to be able to be a part of, and learn. But just post life, and then you'll get better and you can refine it and you can have a strategy. But if you wait until you have a perfect strategy, you're never going to get started.
Yep. And since we're starting tomorrow, we don't have time for a
We don't
perfect
have time.
strategy.
Yeah, there's no
Right.
time for
Yeah.
a perfect strategy.
If we would have waited till January, I would have had a perfect strategy, but now I'm going to have to just roll
You
with
would
it.
have had a
So,
perfect strategy and not implement it.
that's my strategy would be great, though. I'd have
That's
the
it.
best flow chart of all time. So
That's it.
all right. Well, any final thoughts for today? This has been great. This has been
Yeah,
really,
I want to just acknowledge, Andre, you show up a lot for us and you comment, and I see your post, your comment. It says, I'm up to motivational morning number 55 and I don't get much interaction. Andre, I'm going to put it on my calendar to let me know, message me. Is that something you do every day or is it once a week? I want to put it on my calendar to show up for you and start engaging with your motivational morning, and let's see how we can help you. But I'd say implement some of the things that we talked about today. Make sure that you're commenting on other people's posts and those other things. But I'd love to be there for you and show up for that.
So do we come up with our hashtag? I do like the challenge thing. I agree with you that maybe we don't.
Newbie Nation Challenge.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go.
Newbie Nation Challenge. We're in.
I don't know if I know how to write all of that. That's a lot of letters.
That's going to take a lot of extra time. I don't have time to write all that down. That's going to take a lot of time.
Letters for my brain to put in place. That's good.
Do a
Carson,
copy paste. Write it once and do a copy paste.
There you go. All right. Well, hey Carson, since we're in the same room together, you wanna wrap us up for everybody?
Yeah, no, let's do it. Thanks everybody for being on as usual, or taking in this material. However you like to listen to your podcasts. This has been a real treat. And so to answer the question, what the heck should I be posting? Hopefully we've given you some things that you can think about, mediums that you can leverage, posts that you can make, different topics that you can pick from. But the bottom line is just make sure you are posting and that you're learning from the results that you get. I think all of us have made posts nobody engaged with, done videos nobody watched, but the trick is you keep coming back and you keep doing it from a genuine place, trying to connect meaningfully and authentically with other people, and you'll be rewarded. So thanks so much, everyone. Tom, Brandon, always a pleasure. And for the rest of you, happy social selling.
Have a good week.
Thank you, everybody.